Wow, where do you start with that? Wrexham AFC 3, Reading 0. In our second home game of the League One season, Wrexham have put in a 10 out of 10 performance against a very solid Reading side. Going into this game, we've of course picked up that point away at Birmingham City, who are outright favourites to go and reach 100 plus points this season and win the league. We're expecting big things from Reading today. We're expecting a really tough test, and to be honest, going into this game, going into Bolton, you take a draw. Similarly, in this game, you thought it was going to be a really big test. We were expecting, a tough battle in every department of the pitch against Reading today. This team has proved me wrong yet again. We have picked up an impressive 3-0 victory, of course, over the Royals today at the Racecourse Ground. A big 3 points, and it just continues our really good start to the season. Wycombe at home 3-2. It was never going to be an easy game. We picked up the points. We scored 3 goals against a good defensive outfit. We went to Bolton Wanderers. We picked up that point I'm sure a lot of teams would, be really happy with in this division. We could have won the game, so we're seeing promising signs, as we're going into this league. It's a massive step up, of course, from League 2 to League 1. But in my opinion, it's a challenge that I think we're all relishing, from the coaching staff to the players to the fans. We can understand the ambitions going into this season, but as it stands, I think we're proving ourselves wrong as well. I think in this opening 3 games, if you just said we'd have come out this unbeaten against Wycombe, Bolton and Reading, I'd have been really happy with it. But before we get going into today's match review, of course, if you'd like to see more Wrexham AFC content on YouTube, make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. We are literally that close away from hitting 25,000 subscribers. I think as we're recording, we're about 35 away. So if there's 35 people who haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure to get down there, click the red subscribe button. Of course, if you would like to support the channel further, you can click the first link in the description down below, of course, if you would like to help the channel progress and continue as we go into a big year for both channels this season. This one and my second one, Liam Talks EFL. But without all this waffling, let's get talking about this fantastic performance. I think there's only 2 players that you can start off this review with, and that is James McClean and Elliot Lee. In my opinion, 2 man of the matches today. I couldn't pick one if I tried. 2 of our best players, like I said, in today's game. McClean, he looked hungry. Okay, in the first half, he didn't really see much of the ball down that left-hand side. It was predominantly coming down to Barnett or shifted in that midfield, as we had a really big midfield battle on our hands in the first half, and it was scrappy. A lot of ground duels were being won. A lot of ground duels were being obviously had by the midfield, so it didn't really allow the wing-backs to be, in possession and seeing a lot of the ball. But I thought, we overcame that challenge of Reading in the middle of the park. We, of course, went in with the lead after battling some pressure, I would say, from Reading, and in that second half we saw McClean down that left hand side. He always performs in that second half, down attacking by the Mould Road stand, but he of course was a lot more involved in the play. We've seen a lot more of the ball. He was doing some incredible crosses into the box, putting the chances on a plate for our strikers and the players that were in the box, and of course he was doing those neat flicks. I think the main thing about James McClean today was his role in the link-up play. I thought the chemistry between McClean, Elliot Lee and just any of those midfielders that were involved in those intricate passes of play, I thought McClean, you could see his quality, you could see his international and Premier League quality coming into that game, and I thought him and Elliot Lee had an absolute field day, and in my opinion, I think that might be the best game we've seen James McClean have in a Wrexham shirt. That second half, he grew into the game massively. Is that a new thing we're going to see, long sleeve James McClean? That's also a message to Macron to make those long sleeve shirts available for everyone to buy. Enough of that, but James McClean, I thought, again, if we'd have capped it off for that goal, he had that really good chance. I genuinely think this would have been a 10 out of 10 performance from him. You can tell the class that he brings to this team, and I saw someone on Twitter say, would McClean be a player that you would drop in the starting 11? And I think that is ridiculous. I think James McClean, maybe bar 1 or 2 other players, should be the first name on that team sheet. You do not get a player that is going to bring the quality that James McClean does bring to that team. I think his just overall passion, his experience brings so much to that team. I can sing his praises all I want, but another man that I can sing the praises of highly as well is Elliot Lee, our centre attacking midfielder. I just want to read you out some of his stats from today's game. 1 goal, 1 assist, 90% pass accuracy, 52 touches, 3 out of 3 accurate long balls, 3 passes into the final third, 8 ball recoveries and an 8.7 rating. What a performance this was from Elliot Lee. We're seeing it time and time again. Elliot Lee just continues to flourish in a Wrexham shirt and continues to be, you know, that leading player in the attacking phase. He is undroppable at this moment in time, and I think he is going to be one of the best players in this division like we saw in League 2 last year. It's of course a massive step up for Elliot Lee and the whole team in Wrexham, but he's been there before. He's been there for Luton, he's been there for Charlton. He's experienced in this league. We know Elliot Lee's qualities and we always see it week in, week out. Although we might not have seen as much last season, we're going to see the best of Elliot Lee this season. I think he could once again chip in with at least 12, 13 goals and assists this season. Elliot Lee as well complements that free roam role that he does play in that centre attacking midfield position really, really well. I think, you know, he's got incredible dribbling. He's such a good dribbler of the ball. When you think he's, you know, going to get dispossessed, he'll just keep hold of the ball and weave out of different scenarios where there's 2 or 3 players around him. He can provide that moment of magic. We saw against Bolton, he was, you know, our spark in that attacking play. He was there today, chipping in with 2 goal contributions, and this is going to be a running theme, and a theme that we're going to see a lot of this season is Elliot Lee heavily contributing to our goals this season. I think the thing that I like about Elliot Lee as well, he's such an attacking and positive player. You see wingers these days, okay, Elliot Lee isn't a winger. You see wingers that don't really like to take on their man anymore, that will be happy to cut back and play it to the left back or play that backwards pass or the pass inside. But I think the thing with Elliot Lee is he is not afraid to take on his man. He will have no second doubts about whether he's going to take on your man, skin him, put that cross into the box, create the chance and get the goal on the score sheet. He is just someone that, you know, you can rely on to be such a positive player going forward. You can rely on the goals, you can rely on the assists, and most importantly, if you're a Paul Mullin, Stephen Fletcher, Ollie Palmer, Jack Marriott, you can expect the ball to be put on a plate by Elliot Lee. Someone else that massively impressed me today and has massively impressed me so far this season, and I would say he is our best signing of the summer, is George Dobson. He might be my new favourite player. He is incredible in the midfield. He adds just so much quality, and you know what a signing he's been. I think he adds obviously that class to the midfield, the composure and that extra quality to the midfield that I didn't think was possible after, you know, seeing that really good midfield of Cannon, Evans and Elliot Lee last season. I thought we're going to sign someone and they won't be able to replace or fill the boots of these players who've ended this season on such a high. But Dobson has come into that midfield. He's just taken the role by the scruff of the neck. He's been thrown into the deep end straight away. And of course, it's not like we've signed him from the National League. He's League One quality, of course, spending all those years at Charlton. So we had an idea of the quality that we were getting when we signed George Dobson. But seeing him in the flesh and seeing him, you know, take on these midfield on his own, you know, he's not afraid to put that tackle in. He breaks up the play really well. And he really does add that League One quality to our midfield. And on the topic of quality, let's just have a look at some of his stats from today. 11 ground duels won, 5 ball recoveries, 20 accurate passes and an 8.2 rating from that game. So another performer. If it wasn't for the, you know, that brilliant performances of Elliot Lee and James McClean, George Dobson would have easily been man of the match and by far one of the brightest sparks on the pitch today. And if this form does continue, you know, throughout the games, we've got some really tough tests coming up, and I think this is when we'll see the best out of some of the players. For example, the George Dobsons, you know, you'll see the best out of Andy Cannon. We're taking teams on in the next couple of weeks. Peterborough United, we've got the derby against Shrewsbury, which we will relish massively, and then you've got Birmingham City. If we can see the best out of George Dobson in those games, if he can continue to put in some really quality 8 out of 10 performances in the midfield, he would be my first name on the team sheet. Yeah, and I think it's about time we have a word on our opposition today, Reading, of course. Going into this, like I said in the intro of this video, we were expecting Reading to be not a team that's going to completely blow us away. You know, we were going into Bolton Wanderers thinking, look at their attack. They've got Dion Charles, Aaron Collins, John McAtee. They're going to be lethal, which of course they weren't in the end. But of course we knew that Reading were going to be coming at the racecourse ground, attacking us from minute one, not being afraid to, you know, take on the defence that at times last season in League 2 was very, very shaky. Of course we conceded 5 goals on multiple occasions. So I think they would have definitely wanted to have targeted our defence a lot more than they did and have more shots on goal than they did. They were good in the middle of the park. The first 10 minutes I thought they were very, very comfortable on the ball, and in that first 10 minutes I thought we were going to be up for a real tough test. Don't get me wrong, of course Wrexham in the end 3-0, it was 11 out of 10 performance from us, but in that first sort of 10-ish minutes I thought you can really see the quality between a League One established side and a newly promoted League Two side. They were knocking the ball around really, really well, and I think they were massively disappointed and let down by their defence. Of course, 3 goals conceded, and their attack, who I think is fair to say was very, very poor today. But that's nothing, of course, to take away from Wrexham's defence. I think it was a mixture of two, Reading being not that great on the attack, but Wrexham just doing really well to soak up that pressure and just take any life out of the strikers that they had going into this game. And of course, if you're looking at the stats from after the game, I think Reading had something like 71% possession, but as Jermaine Genius will know at home, possession does not win you matches, as Alan Shearer did once say to Jermaine Genius. So possession doesn't win you matches. Wrexham, I don't care if the opposition has 90% possession in a game. We're not playing on this stupid XG rules, who had more possession, expected goals, all that nonsense. It's about who puts the ball in the back of the net. Wrexham did it 3 times, Reading did it none. And I thought as well, like I said, they were bullied up front, they were bullied defensively. It was just, I think Reading caught us on a really, really good day today, and I think that will be a theme for a lot of teams coming to the Racecourse Ground this season. We love to put in a big performance at home at the Racecourse Ground, and I think, that's not me trying to sound intimidating or anything, but any teams, expecting to come to the Racecourse Ground and steamroll us 3 or 4-0, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but there's definitely a very, very low chance that teams will come to the Racecourse Ground and bully us off the park, because we mean something this season. And I'm not getting too ahead of myself, but we've seen some promising signs, and if we can keep this form from the opening 3 games throughout the whole season, we could be in for a good season. I think their off-the-field issues are a lot more important than what they're currently having on the pitch. Dai Yong has turned this club into turmoil the past couple of seasons, so that'll be something they're more focused on. From a Wrexham fan point of view, we've seen it. We've had the Alex Hamilton, Gutterman, all those people, Jeff Moss, that tried to come into the club and ruin it. We can sympathise massively with the Reading fans in saying, that we hope that they can get the off-field issues sorted as soon as possible, because they're a really good club. They've been in the Premier League, not too long ago. They're an established Championship side who should be up there in the Championship, pushing for playoffs, but they've been let down by their owner and the investments into the club. So let's hope, that can be resolved in the next coming few weeks, and of course that'll be their main priority. So credit to all the Reading fans that follow, despite everything happening off the pitch. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but the striker up front for Reading today, we of course saw him against Birmingham City, scored that goal and had a really bright performance, and I thought he's going to be an issue today. But Max Cleworth had a really good performance, one-on-one battle against him, and I thought Max Cleworth did get the better out of him throughout the whole 90 minutes of the game, barely giving him a chance. And I think that's credit to Cleworth and the player that he is, and not the Reading striker, because I think we're going to expect to see him with a 10+ goal tally this season. And let's have a word on player ratings. I think this will be really interesting. Before we get going into these player ratings, let me know if you agree with me in the comment section down below. But Okonkwo, I've given a 7. I thought it was a really good performance from Okonkwo, plucking crosses out the air. You really saw his height in that game. Really dominant in goal today. Barnett, I've given an 8. I thought it was a really impressive performance down that right hand side. It's Barney. We know what we're expecting when we've got Barnett on the pitch. Got the assist as well. Just a really bright performance, attacking the defender and putting those crosses into the box. Really good performance from Barnett. Cleworth, I've given an 8. Really good performance all round. Very dominant at the back. O'Connell, I've given a 7. This probably sounds really harsh because I thought he did have a good game, but in terms of O'Connell standards, I don't think he was tested as much as he was against Wickham. But, he's kept a clean sheet, but he's not had all too much to do. Likewise with Tom O'Connor and that left centre-back role, I've also given a 7. So, yeah, O'Connell and O'Connor, I don't think had as much to do as they've had in the previous 2 league games. McClean, I've given it a 9. I've already talked about him. A top-tier performance from him. Cannon, I've given an 8, of course, capping it off with that goal. A really good performance. I thought his best performance of the season that we've seen from Andy Cannon, so I'm really happy to see him, putting in those really good 8 out of 10 performances. Dobson, I've given a 9. No words can describe how good that man was today. Elliot Lee, I've also given a 9. I could copy and paste the words that I've just said about Dobson to Elliot Lee. Palmer, I've given a 7.5. He scored that header, really good header. I don't think he did a lot today, apart from the goal. Likewise with Jack Murray, I've given a 7, but like I said, no one in that team today was a 6. They all had really good performances, and I think that was definitely our best performance of the season, and could be our best performance we've seen for a very, very long time. And I think that's testament to, how Phil Parkinson gets these players prepared going into the matches, the tactics, you name it, he'll have those players ready. And I thought it was a really resilient defensive display. We had a lot of pressure put on us in that defence, but we were there for the blocks. We soaked up the pressure really well. We took the life out of the attacking play for Reading, which really frustrated their attack. And Wrexham being Wrexham, we capitalised, we got the 3 goals. And then, you know, after that first and second goal, Reading, the motivation wasn't there in that team. Wrexham capitalised, put the foot on the gas and really dominated the game. I think something else that's really interesting to know is, of course, looking at the lineup. 8 out of the 11 in the starting lineup today were signed in non-league, which I think is testament to our transfer activity, you know, that has been incredible since the takeover has happened. Our transfer activity has been second to none. You know, the business that we've done through every single transfer window has been spot on. And I think this is, you know, obviously the plan for the long term when we were in non-league, getting these quality players in for, you know, you look at the likes of Andy Cannon in that midfield, you look at the likes of Owen O'Connell, Tom O'Connor, who we know we got for an absolute bargain, Elliot Lee on a free, Ryan Barnett as well, all these players who we got for a significant amount lower than what we would get now if we were trying to target them. A real big pat on the back to, you know, the scouts at Wrexham, Phil Parkinson, his team, who get these transfers across the line, who spot the talent there and the potential for them to become a really good player in that team. So, you know, a big round of applause for the transfer activity that we've seen and, of course, how they're performing now in League One in the starting 11. So yeah, that is it for today's video. Let me know if you would like to see more of these match reviews after the games. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comment section down below. Let me know your man of the match. What are your thoughts going into next week's away game against Peterborough United? Like I said, any support on this video is massively appreciated. If we could hit 350 likes, that'd be massively appreciated. Of course, if you could subscribe, that'd be massively appreciated. I don't know how many times I want to say that, but yeah, any support on this video I'm always grateful for. So yeah, what a performance, a 5-star performance from Wrexham. I'll see you in another video. Take care, guys. Up the town.